Okay, sorry about that. I don't know what happened there. Something happened. We crashed. But we're back up. We're just going to resume from where we left off. We were talking about the games from this past week. You know, after we were getting into detail about the Chargers-Falcons, Kirk Cousins struggled mightily with everything on mine will load properly. That's what I'm trying to do right now, just so I have all the slate of games up and stuff, but doesn't seem to want to load properly. Next game we will talk about is the Cardinals and the Vikings. Cardinals looked like they had a chance to win and were winning a lot of the game. Then Kyler Murray threw 2 crucial interceptions and it unfortunately costed them the game. Vikings moved to 10-2 as they face the Falcons next week, and the Cardinals face the Seahawks. Pittsburgh and Cincinnati. Pittsburgh comes out on top. Great game from Russell Wilson. Joe Burrow had a solid game. That Bengals defense, though, they gotta get in a rhythm because what they're doing is not working, and the Bengals are pretty much dead out of the water. And I don't think there's any salvaging them. Then this game, Houston and Jacksonville. Well, game was going all right for Jacksonville, and then used his arm to hit in helmet and hit Trevor Lawrence in the head. Trevor Lawrence was immediately laid out and was almost like stimming up, and then Evan Ingram came in, clocked Shair, and pretty much started a brawl between the two teams. We learned Azeez Al-Shaair was suspended 3 games for an illegal hit. He did leave an apology saying that he doesn't like to be a dirty player. He doesn't want that to define who he was. He held sympathy for that hit. D'Amico Ryans, head coach of the Texans, tried to victim blame in a way. So we'll see what the fine looks like too. But Houston wins and moves on to 8-5, barely beating Jacksonville, who's 2-10 now. Indianapolis, New England, not a lot to detail. Colts win. Patriots continue to go down 3-9. Colts 5-7, looking to squeeze in the playoffs. They're still very much in it. Seahawks and the Jets. This game was crazy. This might have been one of the craziest games of the week. So, game starts. The Jets get off on top early. They have a kick return touchdown. Then they have a touchdown. And then, but Seahawks can't come in. Aaron Rodgers throws a crucial pick 6 to Leonard Williams. A 91-yard pick 6, mind you. Seattle also muffed the punt, or muffed the kick, and Anders Carlson, for Jets kicker, recovered it. And overall, it was just a crazy game. It was looking like it was going to be a shootout, but the Seahawks won and move to 7-5 and have sole possession of first place in the NFC West. The Jets are 3-9, and there's a lot to question about Aaron Rodgers' future. Sounds like Rodgers might not be back in 2025. Detail on that. Tampa Bay beat Carolina on a play that they probably shouldn't have won because Adam Thielen caught a ball in the end zone. They did deem that he was out of bounds and it was incomplete, and the Buccaneers did win. However, it looks like Thielen may have been in, so maybe could have won. But Bryce Young looked really good today. Bryce Young, they got some hope. Rams beat the Saints. Not much going on there. Taysom Hill did suffer a season-ending torn ACL. So his season is done, as well as the Saints season. Philadelphia beat Baltimore. Saquon Barkley continuing to make a case for MVP. As crazy as it sounds, last non-quarterback to win MVP was Adrian Peterson in 2012. But Saquon Barkley making a case. Defense played well, kept Derrick Henry in check. And then this game, San Francisco and Buffalo, in Buffalo for Sunday Night Football. Snowy field. And it showed San Francisco, I think, fumbled 3 or 4 times and lost every fumble. Josh Allen became the first quarterback in NFL history to not only have a passing threw the ball to Amari Cooper. Amari Cooper was about to be tackled down. Amari Cooper lateraled it to Josh Allen, who took it to the end zone and pretty much might have always just put the dagger on that San Francisco season. Nobody really played good for San Francisco. Christian McCaffrey got hurt again. He was also put on injured reserve and will probably miss the rest of the season as well. So, 2 big blows for San Francisco on an already injured team. So, yeah, San Francisco looks to try to keep their season alive. They play the Bears. The Bills, meanwhile, they head to Los Angeles next week to play the Rams in what should be a good contest. And then the Monday night game. Cleveland and Denver. That was wild. Jameis Winston, 497 passing yards, 4 touchdowns, 3 interceptions, including 2 pick sixes. Bo Nix had an amazing game. Levi Wallace didn't. Jerry Jeudy had a great revenge game. I think he had like 12 targets, like 35 yards and a touchdown. The picks just costed them the victory, unfortunately. And it showed. So, a great game, though, from him. From Jameis Winston. The Browns look like a better team than they did with Deshaun Watson. They're still not great, because they're still not great, but having Jameis Winston on that team, and Cleveland, their season's probably over. They head to Pittsburgh next week. Denver, meanwhile, is on a bye. We got a big, probably the biggest game of the week in Week 14. We got Jordan Love and the 9-3 Green Bay Packers head to Detroit to play the 11-1 Lions at Ford Field. Winner of that game probably winds up winning the division. It's going to be a toss-up right now. So, we'll just see how that goes. So, recapping that. So, going into it. So, we talked about it at the beginning of the live stream before everything crashed about the inconsistencies of the Bears regarding their head coach, Matt Eberflus. He was fired on Friday. He was fired Friday morning, early afternoon, after an abysmal game. When we say abysmal, we mean abysmal, because it was almost like he was holding the Bears back. You know, he was hired 2022. He was taking over a rebuilding franchise. Justin Fields was a quarterback there. They had a 3-14 record. Then last year they ended 7-10. And they decided, to keep Eberflus, ditch Justin Fields, and decided to draft Caleb Williams number 1 overall. Which the last few weeks, Caleb Williams has looked like the number 1 overall pick that they did draft him to be. Mind you, there's still work that has to be done there, but Caleb Williams is looking really phenomenal since the Bears fired Shane Waldron a few weeks ago, and Matt Eberflus should have succeeded with what he had. He had Caleb Williams. They drafted Rome Odunze with the 9th pick. They traded for Keenan Allen from the Chargers. DeAndre Swift, Kevin Byard, Gerald Everett were added to the team to help. That wound up to be true. Was Matt Eberflus was going to hold back Caleb Williams. And it turned out to be true because the Bears right now 4-8. They headed into their bye week. They were 4-2. They've proceeded to drop their last 6 straight. They played because it started with the Hail Mary game, when they gave up that Hail Mary to Noah Brown after Tyreek Stevenson pulled his little stunt and costed them the game. Continued to get worse. They lost to the Patriots. Then, they faced Green Bay. They faced the Packers. They lost on the blocked field goal after Eberflus refused to run a play that would have moved him up. The following week, kind of the same thing. Except they did kick a game-tying field goal to go to overtime. But coaching again held it back. And then on Thanksgiving, as we all know, he had that freak-out moment when he didn't call a timeout when Caleb Williams was trying to get the team together. And they probably should have costing them. And now Matt Eberflus sits unemployed. He was 14-32 as a total head coach. Finished fourth place. The Bears finished fourth place each in his tenure. This is the first time the Bears have fired a head coach mid-season, and even though there's been a good amount of bad head coaches that they've hired over the last few decades. But Thomas Brown, the offensive coordinator, who was promoted after Shane Waldron got fired, will now be the interim head coach for the Chicago Bears. We'll monitor that. It sounds like Eberflus kind of lost the locker room too. Because I think it was Jalen Jackson almost had an altercation thing with him after the game. Pretty much called him out. And we don't know how much of the locker room he had, but whatever happened, they fell off. And he just wasn't enough anymore. And unfortunately, for Matt Eberflus, he no longer has a job. He used to be the running backs coach under Sean McVay. He was there when they won the Super Bowl. He was also the assistant head coach there before he was hired by the Panthers in 2023 to be their offensive coordinator for the Carolina Panthers, when they drafted Bryce Young under head coach Frank Reich. They started 0-6. Frank Reich gave play-calling duties to Brown. Frank Reich was fired shortly thereafter. He was brought into Chicago to be their passing game coordinator under Eberflus. And then after they fired Shane Waldron, he was promoted to offensive coordinator. And now here he is going to be the interim head coach for the Bears. So we'll see what happens. There. We'll see if they get better, or if it's just a wash season. But Brown was instrumental in making sure Caleb Williams did become a pretty decent quarterback, like we saw the last few weeks. Other news. So obviously, we're analyzing the playoff picture. Not much change from last week. Lions still lead the AFC. Eagles are 2. Seahawks have the third seed at 7-5. Falcons are 6-6. With the Buccaneers, though, neck and neck with them. Buccaneers are catching up to them. So we'll see what happens there. Tampa Bay could wind up walking away with that. The Vikings 10-2. 5th seed Packers 9-3. Commanders 8-5. So that's the NFC playoff picture right now. I really, personally, I think that that's kind of how it is. I personally think that that's just how I see it. AFC right now, Chiefs 11-1, Bills 10-2. Steelers 9-3, Texans 8-5, Chargers at 8-4, Ravens at 6 seed 8-5, and Broncos 8-5 at 7. Again, that's still up in the air, but I feel like that could be the playoff picture right there. There's not a lot to There's not a lot to base it off of. But moving on from the NFL, because lots of fun with the NFL, the MLB. So we know last Tuesday, former Cy Young pitcher Blake Snell signed a 5-year, I think it was $167 million contract with the Los Angeles Dodgers. The money was deferred. Some of the money was deferred, so the Dodgers add a big arm to their rotation. He had a decent year with the Giants last year. Before that, he had a good few years with the Padres. He seems to like playing for NL West teams. There's just something about him and teams in the NL West. But Dodgers continue to be interested in guys like Juan Soto, Willie Adames, Roki Sasaki, all these big names. So we'll see what happens there. The Red Sox today signed Aroldis Chapman to a 1-year contract. Chapman, obviously, former Yankee. He'll be well loved. He'll be well loved when he comes back to New York for sure. For sure. There is a talk that the Toronto Blue Jays could sweep in and make the biggest offer for Juan Soto, which would be nice if they were able to do that. But then what would... Another thing is Nolan Arenado has... Apparently the Cardinals and Nolan Arenado have agreed that a trade might be necessary. So the two sides have been looking at a trade. Nolan Arenado does have a no-trade clause. So he gets the right to pretty much choose where he does and doesn't want to go. He did kind of... He was at a Lakers game the other day, and he posted... The song he used was Dodger Blue by Kendrick Lamar. So there's a possible hint that he did. That he hints that he wants to play for the Dodgers or will play for the Dodgers in 2025. Dodgers also gave Tommy Edman a 5-year, $74 million extension to be a utility player, which, for a guy of his magnitude, no disrespect to him, but I don't know if he was deserving of a 5-year, $74 million contract extension. That's just my personal opinion, though, especially if they want to sign all these guys. Standout KBO infielder Hae-Sung Kim is going to be posted tomorrow by his team. What that means is he will be posted to MLB teams to look at and sign, and he has 30 days to sign with an NFL team or MLB team, or he will, I think he'd just revert back to playing in the KBO for the rest of the year or for next year, and then they could repost him next year. So yeah, still a lot of big name free agents out there. Corbin Burns is still out there. He's the top free agent starter on the market. Alex Bregman's still available. Pete Alonso, Willie Adames, Christian Walker Buehler, all that. So there's a good few names out there. This class isn't loaded by any means, but there aren't scrubs. So it'll remain to be seen what happens there, because there's so much news. Like I said, I personally think Juan Soto winds up with the New York team. What New York team, I don't know. But I think he winds up with also former Yankee and Padres catcher Kyle Higashioka signed a contract with the Rangers, giving them a solid defensive catcher there. So yeah, we'll see what happens there. And then, going on, another great week of college football another solid week of college football too. We had rivalry week. Minnesota came to Madison and whooped Wisconsin. Wisconsin misses their first bowl game 23 years. They have the longest active bowl game streak in college football. And that ends after embarrassing performance. Then obviously, we had the famous Ohio State-Michigan game. Michigan comes in and wins. Ryan Day did not coach a very good game. Ohio State just didn't look good as a whole. Takes their flag. They go and take their flag to midfield of Ohio Stadium, and planted their flag and started a huge scuffle. On the field between the two schools. Which, don't get me wrong, like, you don't want to see scuffles like that. And Michigan could have handled it better. Michigan did win, so technically, I mean, could see. So technically, I guess you could see what happened. So there was Buckeyes players pursued the Wolverines from the student section end zone. Skirmish ended. Some players and coaches were bloody. Several players had to be deputies, state troopers, university police, all over. The Big Ten did levy $100,000 institutional fines against both universities for violating the conference's sportsmanship policy. Because, yeah, that was not good at all. One was okay, but that was just a dangerous thing. You know, Michigan moves to 7-5. Obviously, Jim Harbaugh left to go to the NFL, so Sherman Moore took over as the head coach. They have to do some rebuilding within that program. Ohio State moves to 10-2, probably moves down in the rankings. Will Howard did not have a good game. Michigan continues. Yeah, Michigan continues to dominate. Michigan continued to dominate. They've won the last 4 games. So that happened. So lots going on in college football. The in-season tournament continues. Bucks play the Pistons. Washington plays the Cavaliers. The 76ers head to Charlotte to play the Hornets. Indiana plays Toronto. In the East Group B, Orlando faces the Knicks. Utah and Oklahoma City. Memphis, Dallas. San Antonio plays Phoenix. Houston, Sacramento. Golden State, and Denver. And then they close off with the Blazers facing the Clippers. So overall, just not a good day. A team to look out for, though, is the Bucks. The Bucks started the year 2-6 before moving to 4-9. But since then, they proceeded to win their last 6 games in a row to move to over 500 and 6th place in the Eastern Conference. So far, so good from there. But we're going to...
Well, y'all want to go big? Then say that. Ho! Yeah, boy, we doing big things. Big belts, big rings. Bigger than you ever seen. Biggest big could ever be. So big, better beg for peace. Pipe down, might awake the beast. I am the reason. You can see the look in my eyes. I have arrived. Eyes on the prize. You will not leave it alive. I am the truth, you a lie. Diamonds, the dance, and the watch. Yeah, I'ma shine all the time. I know if you ain't doing nothing, and you just putting if you ain't doing it big.
Well, instead of that, Xavier Woods and Kofi Kingston kicked Big E out of the New Day and pretty much said that he left them, he abandoned them. Now the New Day turned to heel for the first time since 2016. Nick hates that signing Chapman. You got to turn out. I know. Yeah. I know. I actually opened Twitter because I was trying to see if there's any new news, and that's the first thing I saw. It's the first thing that I saw, and I didn't realize the audio was playing. Because I was trying to see if there's any more, like, fun. A lot of what I wanted to talk about. We'll see if LeBron James seems off lately. LeBron James is 0 for 19 in three-point range over his last 4 games and is averaging his lowest points per game since his rookie season back in 2003. So, LeBron James has hinted that he might have a year or 2 left. James plays in the NBA. That remains to be seen. But with that being said, covered everything today. I know it was a little shorter one, but I covered pretty much everything needed to. Don't account for we were going for like 10 minutes before everything crashed. So that was fun. Thank you guys for tuning in. I might do Tuesdays instead of Mondays just because I tend to work most Mondays or every few Mondays. So we'll let you guys know for the next one. Thanks for tuning in, everybody. Peace.